Ladies and gentlemen, and drag racing fans across the world, welcome back to episode 101 of Between the Slicks from the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. My name is Darren Williams Jr., kicking off the show for you guys here tonight. Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer, will be here in about 1 minute, but I'm going to kick off this show right here. We got a special show for you guys tonight. Timothy Hall of the Southeast Gassers Association. He has won five straight in C-Gas. He'll be joining us here tonight. We're going to have a great show on tap for you guys today. We're going to have some drag news. We're going to recap Sonoma. I was in Sonoma, so we're going to recap it. So a lot of history out there in wine country. So we're going to talk about it tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, but let's bring him on. Your host, the one and only Lee Craft. What's up, Lee?
Hey, Darren, man, good to see you. Thank you for helping out. I appreciate it greatly. You know, being on the road can be challenging to do these shows at times, but we have made it here to Eddyville, Iowa at Eddyville Raceway Park, and we're ready for some great funny car chaos action this weekend.
For sure, for sure. And before we kick this off, can you hear me okay?
You're going in and out on my end, but again, I'm in the middle of Iowa. I don't know if it is me or everyone else, but yeah, you're kind of in and out even for me.
Okay, you're in the middle of nowhere, but I mean, hey, you're out there for Funny Car Chaos, Iowa. I mean, I bet you it's going to be a great experience out there for Funny Car Chaos. So just kind of tell everybody, what's the deal with this Funny Car Chaos event? Because I know it's a little different this weekend, correct?
I have no clue.
It looks like the Monday Morning Racer having a little bit of technical difficulties on his end. Like you said, he is in the middle of nowhere in Iowa for Funny Car Chaos. He'll be back in just a little bit. But like I said, I was in Sonoma this past weekend for the Denso NHRA Sonoma Nationals at Sonoma Raceway. And I mean, what an event it was. I mean, let's break it down right now. Since we got a little time, let's break it down. So, I mean, talk about it in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Finally, third time's the charm. Joey Gladstone. Finally, it breaks through and gets his first ever career national event win. It's Miller time. Got to feel great for him. And I'll tell you what, overall, you think about Pro Stock Motorcycle, coming into this season, the national record was a 672 in Pro Stock Motorcycle. 672. The Suzuki's have flat out obliterated that in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Angel went 700 in qualifying, third quickest ET of all time, and then backs that up with the 669 eliminations. Excuse me, 696. 669, yeah, 669, but red lights it away in the semifinals against her teammate, Eddie Craywick. And then in Pro Stock, I mean, how about it? Greg Anderson, Erica Enders, final round with win number 100 on the line. You couldn't ask for a better Pro Stock final round right there. Erica gets the win, 6th win of the year, 6th win in 10 races so far this season, 39th of her career. And I'll tell you what, I asked Erica in the media center, I was like, hey, you think about it, Daryl Alderman won 11 races in 1991. Troy Coughlin won 10 races in 2000 when he won the championship. Greg Anderson won 15 races in 2004. I asked Erica, I was like, hey, do you want to get to that double-digit win plateau, double-digit win seasons? And she said, make no bones about it. I won 9 races in 2015. I want to get over that hump and have a double-digit win season. She told me that. So definitely, Erica Enders is going for the juggler here in 2022. And then a Nitro Funny Car, Bob Tasker III. I mean, you talk about just like Joey Gladstone, third time is the charm. Goes up there, whoops up on Robert Height in the semifinals, and then defeats the GOAT, the greatest of all time, John Force, in the final round to get his first win of the year and 10th of his career. I mean, just what a great day in Nitro Funny Car. Robert Height, low ET of the season as well with a 382 in qualifying. Got to throw that out there. And then finally, in Top Fuel Eliminator, Brittany Force rocked the joint in Sonoma. She rocked the joint. 3 runs in the 360s, nothing under 330 miles per hour. Brittany Force rocked the joint in that flavor pack Top Fuel dragster in Sonoma. Gets the win. 4th win of the year. 4th win of the year for Brittany Force. 15th of her career. And that win was huge as well for Brittany Force. Because not only did she get the win, but she tied Mike Salinas with 4 wins so far this season. Her and Mike have the most wins at Top Fuel so far with 4 wins. Also, that win was huge because Brittany Force takes back the points lead. She now has the points lead by 6 over Mike Salinas heading into Seattle. And also, I mentioned this on the Competition Plus Power Hour. And I know it's kind of apples to oranges because, those guys back in the day didn't have as many national events, but Brittany Force passed the great Don Perdome and Gary Ormsby on the all-time Top Fuels wins list. Passed Gary Ormsby and Don Perdome. She is now tied with Sean Langdon and Dick LaHaye. So there goes the stat for you right there. All right, I think he's back, ladies and gentlemen. You good, Lee? You good?
Hey, Darren, still having a hard time. Doesn't look like. It looks like I'm still coming in and out. Is that the case?
I can hear you fine now. I can hear you fine.
Say it again, Darren.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now? I can hear you.
I can barely hear you.
No?
All right, you came in clear then.
Okay, I can hear you, Lee. I can hear you good on my end. The crowd, let us know.
Okay, great.
Okay, the crowd, let us know at home. Can you hear us or not? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah, technical difficulties here.
Nah, man, but okay. So where you want to go from here, Lee? Can you hear me fine now?
Yes, I can. I don't. The only thing I'm having an issue with is. Let me see. Let me see if I can make you louder somehow. Oh, no, it's not going to do it. Anyway, so, well, I just heard you recapping some of Sonoma. Very cool that you were able to be out there. I know you enjoyed the event. And that place is becoming more and more of a destination event. Like, it's one that if you are an NHRA drag racing fan, you have got to make it to that place. And what a facility it's become, in that it seems like people are starting to throw down there as well in performance. I don't remember it being that just a few years ago, and here it is. It seems like it's completely turned around, and the right people have made investments where they need to. It's a beautiful facility. It would be kind of cool to see it in green, though, early in the year, and make it a part of like an early Western swing. Maybe do Pomona, Sonoma type of situation. That'd be kind of cool.
No, for sure. You talk about they threw down here in the middle of the summer, but just imagine if they put this, like you said, in the fall at the end of the season, or even in the spring or in the winter at the beginning of the season. I mean, how much more they would throw down even there? Because like I said, Robert Height, low ET of the season for Funny Car out of Sonoma this past weekend, 382. And we know what he did a couple years ago when he went 339 miles per hour. So Dave W., the famous Dave W., made a comment. He was like, when did Sonoma become a super track? I mean, out of nowhere. Oh, it looks like we lost Lee once again. So basically, the host, Lee Craft, having a little technical difficulties, and it's understandable. Like I said, he's in the middle of nowhere in Iowa for Funny Car Chaos. So a little technical difficulties. It happens when we're live, but I'll take over from here until he can get back on. Like I said, we have a special guest tonight, so stay tuned. Timothy Hall of the Southeastern Gases Association has won five straight in C-Gas. We'll be talking to him here tonight. But like I said, Sonoma, just what a flat out, just great event. And I want to talk a little bit about the NHRA Heritage Series coming up in just a little bit as well. They will be in Boise next weekend for the Night Fire Nationals. That's the 51st annual event of the Night Fire Nationals. And what an event that was. I mean, some of the greatest in drag racing history has been there. John Forrest won the event in 1988, won it again in 1990, won it for the third time in 1991. I mean, you talk about it. Even Dale Armstrong won the first race in Funny Car there back all the way, I think, in 1972 or something like that, 1971. I mean, some big names have driven at the Night Fire Nationals in Boise, and that race is next weekend, the biggest event of the summer, biggest nitro event of the summer. So definitely stay tuned and look out for all the results for that event. Okay, I think he's back now once again.
Yes, man, just trying to get it all worked out. It's funny when you're doing it on your phone. A lot of times you're dependent on signal, and I am here at Eddyville Raceway Park, and I've had like 4 or 5 bars the whole time. But then when I originally got kicked out, it wouldn't recognize like the headphones plugged in, and I could barely hear you because it was actually coming off the phone, and it was all muffled. So I went back out, come back in. So thanks to everybody. Just bear with us. Technical difficulties, trying to do the live thing actually everywhere we go, and sometimes it's challenging and technology doesn't want to work with you, but we're glad to have each and every one of you watching along right here on Between the Slicks. Again, Darren, thank you. I appreciate the help. It definitely helps me out to have someone hitting the buttons later on in a show like this, because it's all little tiny itty bitty buttons on the phone, and you got to go into menus, and I've kicked myself out of a show before, and thank God it was Brett Kepner that time, and he just kept talking because that's what Brett does, and he can do, and he's a professional, and he's so great at it. I'm glad it was him. Anybody else would be like, where'd Lee go? I'll see y'all later. But Brett definitely handled that like a champ. So, hey, congratulations to Brittany Force, Bob Tasca, Joey Gladstone, and Erica Enders. Erica Enders just continuing to show domination, but I do wonder, when she has a misstep this year so far, and there's been a few, they've been big because they've been first-round losses. You definitely don't want to have that. in the countdown. That might very well be somewhat of an Achilles heel for her in a championship chase, depending on whoever might get hot going into the right time. Because that's what's critical, Darren. You know that as well as I do. It's almost just dress rehearsal in the regular season right now. I don't think the regular season champion gets enough out of winning and pursuing the regular season championship going into NHRA's version of the playoffs. So when we get there, it's about being hot at that time, not so much right now. Granted, Dickie Venables said this, you've got what you got by now. So we're definitely seeing players that are involved. And maybe Tasca is edging into that group with this win. The only thing with Tasca and that group is for probably the last 3 years, I would say, they get a streak going where they even win like 3 in a row. And then all of a sudden, boom, they fall off. And you're like, what happened to Tasca? Tim Wilkerson, he can jump up there and throw a wrench in the whole equation. And then Cruz Petragon is an individual that I've been shocked by his performance so far this year. He was my pick to win the championship, and I think I might not have picked the right guy going into 2022. There's still time to turn it around, but I'm surprised that he has not performed better than what he has right now. Granted, we got to get to the countdown, and maybe they're trying to figure things out, but you've also got to wonder, it definitely looks like right now that it's the Mike and Brittany show.
Yes.
But Steve Torrance is still out there.
Yes.
And Steve Torrance is still talking. What can they do by the time we come around to the countdown? Because I have a sneaky suspicion that Steve Torrance and that group, his whole family, they have been adamant that they are not fans of the countdown. But I wonder, looking at it last year, that they're like, in spite of the countdown, we're going to show you winners, that we're winners and we're champions. And I almost wonder if this year is, we're going to show you using the countdown to our advantage, that we're winners and we're champions. I almost believe that's what it is.
Lee, I tell you what, I literally thought about that today at work. I was thinking about Steve Torrance when I'm at work today. I was like, hey, I feel like Steve Torrance, even though he hasn't won so far this season, I feel like as soon as the countdown starts, he's going to flip a switch. I really felt that way. I thought about that today at work. I'm like, he's just going to flip the switch.
You wait. I'm expecting it, man. Or going into Indy and nabbing the U.S. Nationals. And from there, look out. It's lights out, folks, for everyone else, because Steve Torrance win light is on. That very well may be the case. You know, it had to be sweet for Erica to take away 100 from old Greg.
Dude, I'll tell you what. When we went to that final, so let's go back a little bit, because let's go to Houston. So me and Dave W, we were talking. We're like, the only way Houston would finish off great is if it's Erica Enders at her hometown race against Greg Anderson going for win number 100. We got that taken away from us when Cameron Caruso beat Greg in the semifinals on a hole shot. Yep. But then we get it in Sonoma, Greg and Erica. And remember, let's go back to qualifying, because remember, Greg Anderson went low for the round, actually went to number 1 spot in Q2 on Saturday afternoon. Erica took it right back in that same session. So we already had some fun between the two going into eliminations. And obviously, like you said, both cars in the final round, Greg going for win number 100. And you could see it as soon as they left the starting line. Erica Enders had the starting line advantage. And then when those numbers popped up on the board, the crowd went crazy on a hole shot. Greg Anderson, 6th hole shot loss of the season for Greg Anderson. 6. That's
tough, and you know that's got to be killing Greg, and you know that's making him go back in the shop and work that much harder to get more out of the program. But Pro Stock is throwing down this year. I don't think I've ever quite seen a year where there have been so many mechanical failures in Pro Stock. That tells you they are pushing it. They're trying to get everything they can out of that 500 cubic inch package to get those cars down the racetrack, and it's good to see that they are throwing down as they are, and it's that competitive. And Erica, and along with Aaron Stanfield, they've just been able to turn on the win lights more than everybody else by the driving. It's amazing that it has become a game of you need to be 20 and down, 0-20 and quicker, if you will, to effectively win a NHRA Pro Stock drag race. Another candidate we've got to obviously look out for with performance picking up toward the end of last year and has been this year evident. That's Joey Gladstone, first ever NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Camping World Series Tour win, holds up his first Wally, and I definitely believe it's not going to be his last one. I think more are going to come. I know you got Ryan Ayler out there working hard with 2 bikes to bring that performance up. You've got Matt Smith, who is just flat out mad, and Mad Matt, I think, is a dangerous Matt for the whole NHRA, honestly, but for definitely NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. You have the GOAT in Angel Sampay. She, it amazes me. All the talk of like Shirley and Erica being greats, and definitely I think it's Shirley when you have that discussion. No one ever brings up Angel, and she's got the most wins technically. Like, put some respect on that name. Put some respect on the Cajun. Come on. But we have got a good show in each and every category lined up for us for the rest of the year. So many stories. It's been great to watch. Now, some NHRA decisions, they might very well be stupid. We'll talk about those later. So Darren, I almost called you Sam. Sorry, man. Darren.
Different shades, Lee. Different shades.
Really different shades. Yes, really. No. So, Darren, I'm here, Eddyville, Iowa. You can see it behind me. I've had to change position. It's out there. I'm overlooking it now, and folks are on the track and checking things out. Eddyville, Iowa, man, is such a beautiful facility, 8th Mile facility, and it's nestled on the hills of Oskaloosa, Iowa, and surrounded by cornfields, but it's playing host this weekend. Darren, listen to this. We're talking like 34 funny cars are on the property. 34 funny cars. We will have a field, a B field, a C field, and there will even be a D field shootout at this event in the middle of Iowa. Wow. I didn't know there was that many funny cars in the country that could come out to Iowa. And here they are. We have got nitro burners, nitro injected. We've got turbocharged, the nitrous assisted one with Jade Cook is here. Methanol burners of all different variety, from the modern type to the nostalgia type. They are all here in a run what you brung fashion, running heads up 8th Mile to claim their spots in A, B, C, and D fields. And also, man, I think the top storyline is not so much the cars, even though we've got over 30 cars here. I don't think the top storyline is so much the competition, though we're going to have stellar competition here, and we could talk about that. But the champ is back. Ken Singleton is here. He is tuning for Shane Lawson, and he makes a comeback from that terrible fire. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to catch the interview I had with him, that was 2 weeks ago, or 1 week ago, episode 100, and you can watch it right here on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. Episode 100, we talked to Ken Singleton about going into Ennis, what happened at Ennis, and the recovery, and what the future looks like. And his future is now, and he's definitely going to be tuning Shane Lawson, and I'm expecting Shane to be fast and quick this weekend in that Man of War Mustang funny car.
Lee, I just want to say this. I mean, what an emotional and heartfelt interview you did last week with Ken Singleton. I mean, even I got teary-eyed during the interview. That was an amazing interview, and for you to put that on your platform, I mean, just freaking awesome. Like, dude, like from everything he went through, and then you could just see you can see the emotion on his daughter's face. You can see the emotion on his face. You can hear the emotion on his wife's voice, who was off camera. I mean, just a real heartfelt interview, and I just want to thank you for putting that on your platform and bringing Ken Singleton to us. Because, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, this is his first race since his crash, correct?
It is. It will be his first race since that incident at Funny Car Chaos. So we are glad to have him back, and I'm sure he's glad to be back, and he can add to the sense of normalcy that much more in his life, being back at the track and in a competitive sense as well, not just spectating. So it's good to have him back. I thank you for those kind words, Darren. I just felt that it was a story that needed to be told, and it hadn't come out fully. And people didn't understand quite how bad it was. And sometimes you've got to see something to realize how bad it was. and you got to hear from people on how tough it was. And it was emotional for me. I can tell you off camera at times, I was like, suck it up, it's okay, I can make it, and get through it. But to each and every one of you that watch, thank you for sure. Well, Darren, look, hit that drag news button so we can talk about what's going on in the world of drag racing, and then we can go into the burn down segment very quickly before we get Tim Hall on.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in drag news, very quickly, the PDRA, they have got their shootout aligned. They're ready for this weekend. If you are on the East Coast, Virginia Motorsports Park and their Night of Fire style program, Jet Cars, Nostalgia Funny Cars, and the PDRA All-Stars, they are going to be there. It's going to be the only time you get to see Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost duke it out. You're going to see the top dogs of Extreme Pro Stock fighting it out. You are going to see the stars of the PDRA going after it. If you are on the East Coast, it is VMP, the place that you need to be at. Check it out at PDRA660.com or VirginiaMotorsports.com. I believe that's their website. Or go to their Facebook page. If you're on the East Coast, VMP is the place to be. We've mentioned right here Eddyville, Iowa, Eddyville Raceway Park. Well, that's the place to be if you're in the middle of the country for over 30-something funny cars of all different varieties right here in the great state of Iowa. We've got beautiful weather lined up. It's going to be a spectacular show. Darren, I've been wanting to get to this whole show. News broke today.
Yes.
News broke today. The NHRA, they doing that funny stuff again in a lot of ways. So we know about the rule changes to Pro Stock Motorcycle, and I was thinking that was going to be my burn down. Shortly, let me say, the rule change in NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle, it certainly smells personal.
Yes.
It does. And the NHRA can say otherwise, but it smells like it. All right.
Sure.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the rule change is basically based off an anomaly of a race in Denver, Colorado. I mean, it's basically, they made a knee-jerk reaction, and I hate to say it, but the rule change was basically based off a knee-jerk reaction of Matt Smith pretty much dominating up on the mountain. So I don't see how that kind of relates once you get back down to sea level, but hey, it is what it is.
Is what it is. They made rule changes in Pro Mod that people who spent a bunch of money are like, well, I shouldn't have spent all that money in testing, and I've lost out on that. There's articles you can read about that. But today, the NHRA announced, in line with their announcement several weeks ago, that in Top Alcohol Funny Car, they're allowing nostalgia bodies. We now will have injected nitro funny cars allowed in 2023 in Top Alcohol Funny Car competition.
Yes.
Which begs the question, why even call it Top Alcohol Funny Car? But we see in the announcement, the only car that they can use unless they go back into the archives, which I wish they would have, because injected nitro is nothing new. If you're out there, ladies and gentlemen, and you're like, oh, this is a brand new combination. No, it's not. It's not a new combination. It just hasn't been used in a while in the NHRA because they put it on the shelf. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason. It's still out there. I mean, we have injected nitro cars this weekend. We had them at Nitro Chaos. Injected nitro is an old combination, very old. My dad with Gene Cromer, they were running an injected Cammer on nitro in a old funny car way back in the mid 60s. It's not a new combination, but it will be a new element to Top Alcohol Funny Car in NHRA. And there are many people who are excited about this. There are many people who will say, oh, they're making this because of what Funny Car Chaos is doing. And I'll talk about that in a moment. There's many people out there that are frightened, if you will, by this move. And I lean a little bit more that way than the positive. Let me speak on the funny car chaos issue. There were people that commented on a post that I made already on Monday Morning Racer. There's two lines like, oh, the NHRA is trying to steal away fans and cars. No, it will not affect funny car chaos, and that is not the attempt. Again, this combination and the way in which it will be is something that will be brand new to the NHRA. At least they haven't seen it in decades, and there's not that many cars that would fit the rules elsewhere in like a chaos crowd to go run an NHRA national event, even if it was injected nitro. So no, NHRA is not stealing any fans or stealing any funny cars. The reason they're doing this is because there's car count issues in top alcohol funny car. That is clearly apparent when you go to a national event. There have been dwindling numbers of the alcohol funny cars, and it's sad. I love alcohol funny car. Man, whether torque converter or especially clutch, driving with 2 feet, hitting buttons and shifting, I mean, you have got to wheel those things. Those guys do not get enough credit for how challenging those cars are to drive. But the NHRA believes they need to bring in injected nitro to help the car counts and bolster the fields. And the fact of the matter is, Darren, it won't help, because it's not about combinations. It's about treatment. You talk to nearly any alcohol funny car racer and any sportsman racer, and it's even a fuel guys in the dragsters. It is how they're treated. It is not about what type of combination. And what you're going to find, I bet, is you will find people switch over to the nitro injected combination, because whenever it is figured out, more than likely it will be quicker and faster, and it also will be a situation. And this is something Brett Kepner expressed on this very show when I was in Ennis for the Funny Car Chaos Classic, and he was on. We talked about this because Randy Meyer brought out the injected nitro funny car. When injected nitro funny cars, when they are quicker and faster, you cannot just add more weight, because for whatever reason, nitro loves more weight, and it will go that much quicker and that much faster. I think they're letting a bull in the china shop, and they will, while attempting to bolster the fields, they are going to push out the true alcohol funny car drivers, and eventually you'll have just an injected nitro field. Honestly, I don't know why they just don't make that. I understand their aim. They also want something that people can step into, become familiar with, and then potentially get into a nitro funny car. Because what you do in an alcohol funny car and what you do in a nitro funny car are different. I even dare say you're busier in an alcohol funny car, though 11,000 horsepower is a own monster in and of itself. But they're two different disciplines. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is the right move by the NHRA. I do not. If the only way I think it's going to work is the injected nitro combination has got to come in and not win. It's got to come in and it's got to struggle. And they've got to slowly allow it to perform. If it comes in and it wins right off the bat, you're going to lose even more top alcohol funny car guys. And they're going to go race Chaos. They're going to go race Midwest Drag Racing Series, or they're only going to show up at the regional events and not the national events.
Well, Lee, I pretty much got to say you broke it down to the T, and I can't agree with you anymore. But since you did break it down to the T, and I agree with pretty much everything you said, let me play devil's advocate just for the fun of the show. Let me play devil's advocate.
Sure.
So first off, I love alcohol funny car. You think of Doug Gordon. You think about Sean Bellamere, two West Coast guys from California getting the job done in top alcohol funny car. Love those guys.
DJ Cox
too. Shane Westerfield, when he used to drive top alcohol.
Brian Galwick.
Exactly. Like so many great alcohol funny car drivers out there. But you said something that really, that I even thought about. I was like, hey, and like you said, it comes down to treatment. It comes down to treatment at the end of the day. But can't you say that for everything, for all the things the NHR has done, for what they've done right here, can't you say that, hey, at least they're trying something? At least they're trying the nostalgia bodies. At least they're trying to go down this route with A-Phil. They say, if you ever want change, just try it and see what happens. So don't you think, just to play devil's advocate, can't you applaud NHRL for saying, hey, let's try it and see what happens? Or no?
Change can be stupid.
There you go.
Change can also be calculated and beneficial. And everyone I have encountered, like you mentioned the nostalgia bodies, everyone I've encountered, they are like, well, that doesn't change my mind because I've got to update other things on my car to go run at NHRA levels. Why would I do that and spend thousands of dollars? Mm-hmm. I like the notion of the nostalgia bodies. I think that's trying to play to the heritage group more than any other group to, hey, slightly change your combination, come to a national event and run your nostalgia body as well and perform. But I think the only people that would be interested in putting on a nostalgia body is the cool factor alone for those who are already competing in top alcohol funny car. And I don't see them doing that because I don't see a nostalgia funny car body being competitive to what the Monte Carlo is, because nothing else is, because that's the only body we really have out there.
Yes.
And it goes down to performance.
Yeah.
It's you in the same this is the problem. They're bringing in factors that will make all the other classes have issues like Pro Mod does. That's what's happening.
And no, Lee, like I said, I agree with you down to the T in what you're saying. Just trying to play a little devil's advocate here on Between the Slicks.
Yeah, no. Look, DJ Cox, you can go find it on Drag Illustrated. He commented on the photo of the announcement when Drag Illustrated put it out with their link to their article. DJ Cox, he's got it's a paragraph. It's a long one. He explains in short, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, that it's treatment. This is not going to help. The NHRA got us together. We put our input. And because this is the one that they're apparently going with, and they're not going with the other things that we said that were free, that wasn't going to cost anybody, that's all I need to know.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
DJ, if you're listening, he probably doesn't watch the show, but if you are listening, I want to say, I'd love to see you at Funny Car Chaos sometime, so come on out.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of drivers I would love to see at Funny Car Chaos. Hint,
yes.
The Heritage Series. I would love to see come out and play. So yeah, definitely.
Look, some of you guys have got to get over the quarter mile thing and just embrace all drag race. I don't care if it's a mile drag race, a half mile. There are half mile drag races, people. They're out there. It's very rare, but they are out there. They happen at airports. Quarter mile drag racing, eighth mile drag race. Hey, you ever been to a 10th mile drag strip? I have. You know why it's there? Because it's like in the middle of a valley and they didn't have any more room, but it's about a point from point A to point B and see who gets there first. That's drag racing. By the way, they did drag racing in buildings at one time in Chicago, and they were only like 330 feet. It was short. It's still drag racing. Do you think that the first drag on the main drag with two street hot rods, that it was measured out to a quarter mile? Can you see some young buck and like his James Dean get out, taking his wheel and measuring? Now we got to get it exactly to a quarter mile from stop sign to, oh, here's the marker on the sidewalk. It's not actually the other stop sign, but it's right here. We're going to do quarter mile. We're going to have someone stand here and they're quarter mile racing right here. It's got to stop here. No, they did like red light to red light and stop sign to stop sign. Please.
Now that you're talking about that, though, you know what I've learned recently? So obviously, I cover a lot of stuff just on asphalt, but what I've learned was talking to Billy Morris, who drives in the Heritage Series, Nostalgia Funny Car, Problem Child for Eddie Knox. He used to drive sand dragsters. They only go 300 feet.
Very short.
Feet right there.
Very short. Feet. Yeah. And it's still a drag race.
Yes. From what I've seen, it's pretty entertaining stuff too. It's pretty entertaining.
Very entertaining. Look, I've got one sand rail video on my channel. I wish I had more. It is very entertaining, man. They accelerate, rooster tails of dirt in the air. it is impressive. Well, we'll take water. Take on the water. Their distance it has been shortened. I mean, it's still a good show, and it's still a drag race. Stop putting these parameters of a actual drag race. Oh my goodness! I've seen people say about funny cars, like, "Oh, a turbo funny car." That's not a funny car. That's not what it's actually supposed to be. How about this? Drag racing used to be about innovation, and it used to be about bring whatever you got and see if you can beat the competition to whatever distance you're going to. Just throw the flash, let me go, and hopefully I beat the guy first and I brought enough. That's what it used to be about. And you know what? While we're on the subject, I got to say Chris Graves is doing a heck of a good job. And I'm not saying this just because he pays me, because I was interested in all of this way before he knew me and way before he was paying me. But he's got something figured out. There is something to this 8-car field. Run what you brung. Heads Up Racing. Well, there's a whole lot more we could talk about, Darren, because I personally think the national event model is actually broken. Maybe that's next week, and I'll talk about that, and there needs to be some major shifts and changes in it. But I've already gone over 7 minutes of getting Tim on. We need to get Tim on here, talk to this man, because Tim has been tearing it up in CGAS competition of the Southeast Gassers Association. 5 in a row.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Lee Craft, a Monday morning racer on a tangent.
Yes.
What do you want me to go to commercial, man? Which commercial do you want me to hit?
Hit that Destroyer 1320 with the theft deterrent system. Remember, folks, MMR 15 gets you 15% off. Get that one on and get Tim on here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Timothy Hall is next.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your center console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope. Tim, man, how you doing?
Doing good, Lee. How you doing?
Doing well. Hey, let me get, there we go. Aim that thing down. Look at all them trophies back behind you now. You got at least 5 of them just this year.
Yep, got 5 this year and didn't get any last year, so I guess trying to make up for that mess. But
trying to make up for that mess, I hear. Well, man, you have definitely been on a roll in CGAS competition in the Southeast Gassers Association. It's challenging enough to win one race anywhere amongst any competition, and you have won 5 in a row. What's the difference from last year to this year, man?
Well, last year we were down on power most of the year. I was trying to build a new engine, but parts are hard to get, and just didn't happen as soon as we meant for it to happen. So we worked on suspension and gearing and every other aspect of the car and got that as good as we could get it. So when I finally got the engine done and put it in the car was sorted, and we actually set the record at Shadyside at the final race with the new engine. And so, I just fed on over into this year. We had the speed, and we already had the suspension and the gearing and whatnot figured out. So it's just been going real good.
Well, before we go any further in talking about the WIN Southeast Gasser Association competition and what you do with your program, because it is fascinating, I think. You represent, I think, the dream of almost any competitor or someone in the stands of being able to build their own engines and build their car and go race it and win it. Let's talk about the car. So, Darren, there's photos of the Scalded Dog. Bring them up. And Tim, break down what the heck are you racing in?
That's a 67 Rambler American. We bought it off of Craigslist, Me and my dad and my brother and good friend of mine, Bob Gable, we built it ourselves. Barry Whitworth painted it for me, good friend of mine that I've raced with for years. Um, it's got a G-Force and 9-inch Ford rear end and home built 309 cubic inch small block Chevy in it. And it gets the job done. I think I jinxed myself a little bit. I was bragging about the hot, that I liked the hot, greasy tracks because the old car would go down a slick track, and it was having trouble at Indiana getting down the slick track. So I might have shot myself in the foot talking too much. But so.
Well, it is a beautiful race car, great paint job, and a fitting name. I like the name, Scalded Dog. Why Scalded Dog? I mean, we love to say that, especially in our neck of the woods, and use it in our local slang and nomenclature, if you will. But why Scalded Dog for you?
Well, growing up, if somebody had a fast car, that's what everybody said. That thing will run like a scalded dog, and we were trying to come up with a name that was, different that somebody didn't already have, and made a big old list, and that just kept coming to the top and sounded like a catchy thing, and then the artwork on the side of the car just finished it off. It just turned out real good. So kids love it, I just think it was a good choice.
I agree. Good choice, and it does work. Artwork's great. The car looks great. The paint on that car of yours is beautiful, and it seems like you've got a little bit of everything from every era of that time, and works out beautifully of all the different colors that you have on it. How many different colors are on it?
I've never counted, but it's a whole. I even faded them, from one to the other, so you have the blend, and I mean, it's just, he did a little bit of everything. He wanted to showcase all the different styles and little tricks they did back in the old days, and I think he did a good job of that.
Yes, certainly did. I mean, as we were just looking at it on screen, it is a beautiful race car. It stands out because of its make, its year, and the paint, and you're definitely making it stand out because it is a winning race car with you behind the wheel. Racing itself, where does it start with you? Are you one of these that, hey, you used to do bracket racing and you're like, Sega looks interesting and you got into it, or you come from another background, or are you a late bloomer, as it were, and racing just started for you recently? Where are you on that?
Well, my dad had a 55 Chevrolet gasser in the late 60s. He's got a picture of it. I wish I'd have thought to get it and hold it up, but it's got me sitting on the hood of it. I was 3 years old, so it was in 1969. So I was around it my whole life, and I did start bracket racing, in the 80s, and tried a little bit of everything. Did just plain bracket racing. When I started, it was foot brake. Weren't no electronics, and then electronics came in, and I kind of lost interest in it. And then we did some super class stuff, ran stock eliminator, went to drag week, just looking for something that was fun again. And so we went to while I was overseas with the military, I got to seeing some things that we're doing with Southeast Gassers, and then I went to one when I got home, and that lit the fire under me. It made me want to build one, and so we all got together and built one, and it is the most fun in a drag car that I've ever had, bar none. I hadn't driven a Pro Stocker yet. Would like to one day, but it's a lot of fun. It's tough to drive. It puts as Quayne says, it puts the skill back in the driver. The race car, you got to make it do what you want it to do. There's no electronics. There's no, gadgets to help you drive. You can either drive or you can't drive. So I guess I do all right.
You definitely are doing all right. And look, Tim, if you ever want to drive a Pro Stock car, I mean, I've got those emails and numbers. We can hook you up, man. We can figure out how to make that possible, like Richard Freeman and Greg Anderson, KB Racing. We can figure it out. But, Tim, you are doing it in a way, too. It's not just the driving, because you recently retired and you were an auto mechanics teacher, from what I understand. And you have been an instructor in the automotive world, and you are building your own race engines. And it has got to just, I don't know how you don't have this huge head and you can't fit inside your car, or your chest is so big you can't strap in or something, because if I was building my own engines and winning with them also, wow, what an achievement. And that's like the classic American car guy's dream. I built it, I'm racing it, and I'm winning it. And Tim, you're doing it. So talk to us about engine building.
I enjoy that. I get probably as much enjoyment out of building it and tuning it and winning with it as I do actually driving it. I could see one day when I get old and can't drive, maybe 85 or something like that, I might want to just build engines and tune and not drive. But I like both parts. But it is makes me proud. According to who you ask, if you ask my wife, she'd probably say my head's too big already. But I try real hard not to let it get the best of me and be humble. And, I still like to help some of the new folks that come in, try to tell them things that, help them get up to speed quicker. And, I'm not going to tell them every secret I know, of course, but I do want to see them get up to speed and have fun and be competitive. And, it's good for the race. The fans don't want to see one person run off from everybody else. And it's a lot better when it's tight. So.
I would say yes. It is good to see competition, someone winning, it seems like every other week and every other race, but it also is impressive for what you've done. And again, I think you're getting a little bit of a pass in the situation because you're doing it in such a way where you're building it and you're racing it and you're winning with it. And it's not the other way around, like, oh, I bought a motor from an engine builder. There's a little bit of disdain in the racing world of that happening and people winning that way. Granted, it happens so much, but with being in Southeast Gasser Association competition, A gas are the fastest cars on the property. Then there's B gas, there's super stock, and there's C gas. And none of them are better than the other class in categories. That's not the way I think it should be looked at. They're all highly competitive. They all have beautiful race cars within them. The competition is great no matter the category. But why C gas for you?
Well, at the time when I started, there wasn't a super stock, and I wanted to get in at the entry level, I guess. C being the lowest class then. I just thought I needed to get in there and learn and figure it out that way instead of jumping straight into the fastest car and just making the learning curve that much harder. And got in there and the whole crowd's good people, but there's some really good guys in C gas that you get to be friends with, and you hear it all the time. You buddies until the water box, and then you fight till the end, and then when you get back to the pits, you buddies again, and that really is true. We help each other, loan parts to each other, and got to race them next round. So it's just a really good situation. I do want to run A gas, sometime one year maybe, but we'll just see how that goes.
Well, Tim, we need that repeat champion in Southeast Gassers Association competition. So maybe if you get the championship this year, which it looks like you're well on your way here in 2022, maybe you can come back in 2023 and repeat it, and then you can go on to the next class and whip tail in that category as well.
Well, don't count out Gabe. He's still got a good chance to be the first repeat champion. He's not far behind, and that's far from settled. Any of them are far from settled at the halfway point. So, but we'll see how it goes and see what it brings. And I didn't mention when we were talking about engines. Mark Newton is my machinist and a good friend of mine, and we talk about things, and I bounce ideas off of him, and we just work together on a lot of stuff like that. And I got to give him some credit. I wouldn't be where I'm at without him and Molly Motorsports. Molly, they've been helping me out since my drag week days, and without those two, and all the sponsors, I wouldn't be where I am, but especially those two.
On the engine building aspect, what is one tip that you could provide and it be almost universal for any racer in any application in engine building or maintaining an engine or getting the best performance out of a motor plant?
Well, when you're assembling it, just checking and double checking all your clearances and making sure, when I first started, I was bad about, checking the piston and the valve on one cylinder and thinking, okay, all the rest of them is going to be the same. Well, they're not. They're not going to be the same. All piston depths may be just a little different. You may have just a little different rocker ratio on one cylinder than the other, even though they all look just alike. You don't know until you check them. And I think you can't check clearances and things like that too much. If you just check one cylinder, you're not really doing everything you need to do. As far as maintaining it, when we get home from the race, we take the oil filter off, we cut it open and look inside to see if there's any metal or anything in there that concerns us. If it's not, we'll do a leak down test on the engine. If that looks good, we'll adjust the valves and run through the clutch and get it ready to go to the next race, or testing, whichever one we're going to do. But, the races really are a lot of times one in the shop. You got to do that maintenance, you got to do that testing, you got to try new stuff. If you get fast and you just sit on your laurels, you won't be fast very long. Somebody will pass you.
So from the 5-time straight winner in 2022 competition of C-Gas in Southeast Gasser Association Racing, who builds his own engines in the car that he races in and wins in, what is your filter brand of choice, and what's your racing oil brand of choice?
I use VR1 racing oil, Valvoline, and Wix filters. The Wix racing filter is as good a filter as I've used. I'm sure there's others that just as good, and according to if you watch Engine Masters or not, maybe better ones. But they've done the job for me. I hadn't had any trouble with either of those.
And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that in the Monday Morning Racer Mobile, yes, the 2010 Kia Soul, I as well use Valvoline and Wix filters. So I'm doing something right.
Or either we're both doing it wrong.
One of these, yes. I think we're doing it right, though, because I've got over 310,000 miles and you got 5 straight wins. So we got something going on right.
We'll say it's right then.
Yeah, that's right. So, Tim, in Southeast Gasser Association competition, it's well beyond the Southeast now. Quayne has remarked that if he knew it was going to be so popular, that he wouldn't have went with Southeast Gassers and something else. So we race in Ohio, Indiana, beyond the Southeast. And Wagler Motorsports Park, I was thoroughly impressed. What a great facility it is, a gym, as I have been remarking, in the center of the middle of nowhere of Indiana to go race at. So, one, talk to me about Wagler and the conditions that the race was in, very hot. And also, what are some other venues that you really enjoy going to in Southeast Gassers Association racing?
I really like them all. Wagler is a nice track. I don't enjoy the ride that much. I've gotten older, and when I was young, I liked to just get out and ride, and it didn't matter. We'd take off and go to the beach and, all over the place, and that was fun. But as getting older, I don't love riding. But once we get there, it is a nice track. The Waglers are just nice people. They want us to enjoy ourselves as much as they want the fans to have a good show. And, they got nice air-conditioned bathrooms with showers. I mean, it's just a great facility. And I enjoy it, like I said, all of them. I really don't mind any of them. I just like to race, and I like to have people there to. It wouldn't be anything without the fans. If you don't have fans there, we couldn't do it, and it wouldn't mean anything if you won. There was nobody there to clap for you and pull for you and watch you. So.
Yeah, it was a decent crowd there at Wagler coming out and enjoying the race on Saturday. It was a warm day. I don't say it's hot often, but that was a hot day, and it was far more humid than I was expecting the middle of nowhere in Indiana to be. So what did that make you think and make you consider going in as a racer and a competitor with such a hot, slick track and humid conditions?
Well, that water grains were 160 at one time during the day when we looked at them, and that is extremely wet, and it was hot, and the track was kind of slick. And usually I'm good with that, but my trusty set of tires I was running had about 140 something runs. I was bragging about that as well, and they decided to give up on me and started pulling hard left. So I had to switch tires, and we were number 2 qualifier and not number 1 like we'd been being, and it didn't look like we had anything for Billy Wilson. But anyway, it just worked out, and it was hot, but thank the good Lord, He gave us a breeze. It was a pretty good breeze, and that made it somewhat bearable. So.
All right. Well, look, we're going to go round by round and talk about your win there at Wagler Motorsports Park this past weekend. So, Darren, if you would, cue up round 1, and let's see Tim and him getting past that round 1 competition. Well, Tim, that's not going to be the only red light we see in the other lane with you on the program from Wagler Motorsports Park. It looks like you might have some of the competition psyched out there a bit.
Well, when you're down a little bit on power or performance, you got to do something. I mean, you can just sit there and stage up and race like always, but you kind of know how that's going to turn out for the most part. You got to try to cut the light tight and hope take a nap or something goes wrong, and so I don't blame people for trying it. Just you got to do something. You can't just stage up and be ready to go to the trailer and not even give it a shot. So you got to try. So, and I think that's what Diana maybe did. She wanted to give it a good shot, and she did, and she revved it up harder on that run, and it left harder. So I think you're gonna see her. Next race she'll probably put it into the fastest run she's ever made. So.
Talk to us, viewers, people who may not be familiar with driving in the Southeast Gassers Association. What is the process for staging it up? Manual 4-speeds. There's a clutch in that car. What are you doing to get prepared to take it down the track and take us through a run?
I don't know what everybody does, but I pull into the top light on the tree. Clean the motor out a couple times, and then I try to set the RPMs where I want it by the tach. And once I do that, I don't look at the tach anymore for the staging process or the run for that matter. I just listen to the engine. You can't. I can't. Somebody might can, but if I look at the tach after I get into the first bulb before I bump in, I'm going to be late. I'm going to mess up. So I can't do it. I just have to pull it up. At Wagler, I was staging at 8,000, and then I'd bump into the second light and just wait on the tree and try to get on it as hard as I could on the light, and then shift it by ear because I don't have time to look at the tach and do it. So either by ear or maybe my body's learned the time, the distance, just muscle memory of how far down the track or how long I need to shift, but I've kind of learned what I need to do as far as shifting. I don't look at the other car. I don't care what they're doing until I get it in high gear. Once I get in high gear, I do look over to see what where they're at. And as soon as you cross the finish line, you push the clutch in, knock it in neutral, and start trying to whoa it up because my old car's got 4-wheel drum brakes on it, and you got to be on top of stopping. So that's kind of what they had back in the old days, and it still works. You just can't hold it down way past the finish line and then try to stop. So.
Man, that's the beauty of Southeast Gassers Association drag racing. It is, as I regularly say, drag racing reenactment. It is truly going back into the day as it was there in the mid-'60s and the late '60s, 1967, where they often advertise, drum brakes on a race car. Like, who else is doing that except in Southeast Gassers Association competition? Well, you went on to round 2 and you won there as well. Hit it, Darren. Is there any sense in drag racing? It's like, I can't let a truck beat me.
No, I have a race truck too. That's what I went to drag with was a truck, and I think the trucks make real good drag vehicles. And Ben, he's become a very good young driver. He's quick on the lights. He knocked me out at Virginia last year on a hole shot, and I had a little issue with the main power switch cutting off, but he was way out on me. Anyway, I might not have caught him, even if it hadn't shut off. But just that young talent that we got to have coming in as us old guys get old and quit and can't do it anymore. They're going, they're the ones that's going to carry that torch, and it's good to see them and him and all the other young guys and girls that are doing it coming in there.
So we're past round one. We're past round two. Looking to go on to the rest of the day, is there a sense now, by this time you've won 4 in a row, the car is performing well, even though it's hot, you're already past round 2. Do you feel like, okay, it's my day again. I've got momentum once again. This feels normal. This feels like I'm getting used to it to some degree. Is that where you're at, or is each round like, oh man, I gotta get by this guy. This is tough competition. Where's your thoughts on a race day?
I didn't. We weren't the fastest, so I didn't have that feeling. I was thinking, if I wasn't going to win, I needed to maximize my points. Try to get as much as I could, and if I get beat in the final or whatever, I won't lose too many points and won't let them make up much. And you go over and you look at the ladder, and it tells you what the other vehicles run in the previous round. So all you got to do to make yourself humble when you're not the fastest is walk over there and see it. So it kept telling me I need to try something, work on shocks, or move the travel limiters, or do something to try to make it quicker every run, because I still wasn't quick as I needed to be. So no, I didn't think I had it. I didn't think I had it won at all.
Darren, the next round of action.
Turning on the big red light.
Well, red light in the other lane, you get the automatic win. But as far as I can recall, we don't always see that Falcon crazy car in competition. I've seen it before, but it's not like traveling the tour from what I understand. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think this year they've had some problems getting parts as well, and things like a lot of people have, and fuel's so expensive. They live in Indiana, so every race is a long race to them, whereas just 1 or 2 of them's real long for us. So yeah, he hadn't been at every race, but last year at Kentucky, he beat me in the final on a hole shot, and so he's always cutting those lights real close. He's a good young driver as well, past world champion. So you can't take him light when you pull up beside him, and they do a good job. Their whole family's real, good folks, and just like most everybody is in the group.
All right, so we're going into the final round. In Southeast Gasser Association competition, Quayne, Mitch, Doug, everyone involved, Rocky, they do such a great job of keeping the show moving as fast as possible. With that being the case, do you find conditions drastically changing over the day? And going into the final round, was anything different, or was it very similar to round 1, beginning the day off?
This time it was very similar. Sometimes when things go wrong and you have, track cleanup or a little rain shower or something that postpones it, and it'll end up being dark, or, dusky dark or completely dark by the time you run the final. But this time it was still, bright sunlight. So it was pretty much the same, as it was round 1. It could have been just a little bit better, but it wasn't much difference.
Final round.
a whole shot on it and make that 5 races in a row.
Well, dude, you left first and you got there first and you got yourself your 5th straight win. And again, congratulations, 5 straight. What an accomplishment. And I'm sure you plan on it being 6 straight going into the next race.
I'm going to try real hard. You don't ever want to make a plan to lose a race by any means, but, we're going to really try hard to keep it going and see what we can do. It's a lot of fun. My wife said she's not really a racer, but she has gotten into it with us. But she said, is it not fun? I mean, it shouldn't even be fun to win every race. And I said, well, you're obviously not a racer because it never gets old winning. Maybe it ain't fun for everybody else right now, but it's fun for me. And I know one day they're going to catch up to me and they're going to start beating on me, and I'm going to have to be a good sport, and that's just how it is. So.
Right. Winning never ggets old. Racers just want to win, and it never gets old, and you hate losing as a racer for sure. You might be a good sport about it, but it's never fun. Well, Tim, going into the next race, what are some things you're thinking about with the car? Like you said, hey, you had to put on another set of tires, and we mentioned a little bit about the maintenance. Anything else as you are getting prepared for the next round of competition?
Well, we always trying to look at anything that might make it a little quicker and a little faster. It's a little bit scary to try much at the racetrack, while you're in the middle of a street like this. So if we can get away and test a little bit between now and the next race, we may do that. But I don't know. I got some things in my mind that I want to try. I'm just not. I got a new engine I'm working on now that should be a little better than the one we have, but it's one of them things you don't want to interrupt the good streak you got going on. So it may have to sit on the stand for a while, even when I get it built.
All right. Well, new power plant coming to the Scalded Dog to make it run a little bit more scalded, if you can say that, possibly out there in C-Gas competition. So there is a bounty system in Sega, and that bounty is increasing. Explain to us how much money is on your head.
I hope I don't mess it up. I think after the second race, he puts 100 on, and then the third one would be 2, and the fourth one would be 3, and the fifth one would be 4, and it just keeps adding 100 every time. And the only way I could get it would be to win every race, which is highly unlikely and just never happens. So somebody's going to get it somewhere down the road, I feel sure. And I don't know how much it'll be, but I think it'll be 400 at this coming race.
$400 to take Tim Hall out in whatever round of competition that he is met in. But I like your idea of just winning every race and collecting the money yourself on top of the championship prize as well in C-Gas competition. We had someone ask, they wanted to know more about the engine combination. So give us a breakdown, heads, crank, cam, all that type of thing, at least whatever you want to share.
Yeah. It's a GM block. It's just a 0010 4-bolt main 350 block. It's an Eagle crankshaft. It's not a Windberg or anything like that. It's the rods are aluminum rods I bought off the clearance rack at Elite Motorsports or Patterson. Molly does my pistons for me. They sponsor me with parts, and the piston rings and wrist pins come from them. The heads are cast iron. They CNC ported by HV 8-cylinder heads out of Knoxville, and the rest of it, it's got a Jones camshaft in it. And it's a standard small base Chevrolet base camshaft. It's not a big 50 millimeter, 55 millimeter, anything like that. And I found this got stainless steel Crower rockers that I found on eBay. So, you can find stuff and put a motor together, or, more reasonable, or you can go out and write a check and pay a big amount of money for one. But I can't write the big check, so I have to search eBay and the clearance rack at Patterson and everywhere else and try to find parts that way and make it work. I just couldn't afford to do it another way. but that's part of the challenge. That makes it, part of the fun, being able to find stuff like that and put it all together and make it go fast.
Part of the fun and that much more rewarding, I'm sure. So, does Tim Hall build engines for other folks? That, Hall Racing Engines is on that scoop inlet, if you will.
I've built a couple of others. I do Troy Lightners in Shake and Bacon. Doyle Lynn's building a Henry J as well, and I've done one for him. I think he's got it about ready to go. He may show up at the next race. I'm not sure. I hadn't talked to him lately, but I cut back. A lot of people got to asking me to, and I think it took away from my own program last year while I was doing some of that for other people. And so, we've come up close on the championship a couple of years now, and I just didn't want to have anything, holding me back to try to get that, because that's definitely a goal. So I kind of cut back on it. I'll do those two guys for now. Now that I'm retiring, I retire from the military next month. So once I get retired from both places, I may consider doing a few, but I just can't. I don't want to do it at the expense of my own program. So.
That is certainly understandable, because you are on a good run, 5 straight. It's even better than a good run. It's a great run. It's a stellar run. It's an awesome run. And you definitely have the potential to increase that run to many more wins and a championship. We'd love to see you do it, because there is certainly a point where people get tired of someone winning. But the way in which you're doing it, I believe a lot of folks, other than your competitors, are rooting for you to nab it in the way and the fashion that you're doing it. You're doing it with a car that is like the only one of its type out there in Southeast Gassers Association competition. And it would be good to see a Southeastern guy from South Carolina nab it in Southeast Gassers Association competition. So keep up the good work, and we hope that you do nab it this year. We're pulling for you. I know many others are. So as we close the show out, I want to take an opportunity, and we've got a mutual connection in Gene Cromer. How important, how influential was Gene Cromer to you and for you, because he's got a connection to each and every person in Southeast Gassers Association competition?
Well, I used to go by there, and my wife would sit on one end of the table and talk to Ruth about flowers, because they both love flowers, and me and Gene would sit down on the other end and talk about racing and cars and engines, and we just had a good time doing that. We were, had that in common. He so wanted to continue to do it, but he just couldn't health wise. And I guess when I'd come back from a race, a lot of times he'd call me if I didn't call him first the day after, and he'd say, "All right, tell me about the race," and we'd talk about it. And he gave me advice. He'd tell me things that I used to do back in the day that made his car fast. And I have a lot of older friends that are veteran racers that comp eliminator world champions and this and that, and they've told me a lot of stuff, and I love to listen to those guys. I love to hear what they got to say. I love to hear their wisdom and their experiences. The bench racing, listening to them is very enjoyable to me. So,
well, Tim, thank you for coming on Between the Slicks and chatting and allowing us to introduce you to another audience that folks can hear about your success and your story. And we hope that it's continued success. And we just might have you on again as a champion later on in the year of the Southeast Gasser Association.
I hope you do. I hope I can get it done this year. It's been like I said, we've missed it by just a little bit the last 2 years, and it'd be good to finally get over that hump. And no conflicts with the military or whatever this year. Can't blame it on anything except for if I don't do my job, or we don't get it done, it'll be my fault. So hopefully we'll be able to get it done this year, and I look forward to coming back on if we do.
Well, thank you, Tim. Get ready for that next race. And Darren, hit that Power Built Tools commercial.
Power Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power Built tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase.
All right, Darren, look, before we do end the show, let me again say thank you to you. Everybody out there, you do not know how much easier the show is when you're doing it mobile and you're on a mobile phone for someone to hit those buttons and hit those videos, because I do want to attempt to try to bring you all a high-quality show and show you recaps when I've got the availability to do that, and Darren making it possible tonight. So again, Darren, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. I know the struggle of trying to do it from your phone, so I know firsthand the struggle. But nah, always happy to help a brother out, man. Always happy to help out,
dude. Those Southeast Gasser Association trophies are huge.
They are. I noticed that. We saw a lot of comments about it too. Those trophies are badass, and I gotta say, 5 wins in a row. I mean, that is hard to do. Like, everything has to go right to win 5 races in a row. That is badass.
Especially in Southeast Gasser Association racing, the competition is so tough. Mm-hmm. There are so many cars that can show up and win. And then some, they don't run the whole season, and then they show up and you're like, oh, they're back. Oh, what are we going to do? There's some great competition out there driving race cars like they used to be drove. Manual transmissions with a clutch, high revving, dumping it, selling them off down the drag strip. And it is an impressive show, and it is some extreme competition. And Quayne says it, and I have to agree with him. There's people in modern day pro cars that probably couldn't step into a Southeast Gasser Association car and win right away. They couldn't do it. They'd have to learn it.
Nah, for sure. And one thing I love about Timothy, and I know it's like this for a lot of people in the Sega series, but I mean, not only does he drive, but he builds engines, works on his car, and was in the Army too. I mean, the man does it all.
Right. And something about like Tim's story, or we've had Leslie in the comments, Leslie's story, or Gabe's story. Many of these people in the Southeast Gasser Association competition, yes, the rules are strict, but you have people like a Ron Allison, for example, in Superstock, last year's champion. You have got a wide range from young to old. I mean, like old, no offense, but old. But they are all getting it done in Southeast Gasser Association competition. And they come from so many different backgrounds. Some of these guys aren't uber wealthy. Some are more better off, if you will, sure. But you've got Tim there building his own engines, talking about, on the clearance rack, off eBay, and he's out there number 1, number 2 qualifier. That's just putting what you know to good use and getting the job done. Or if you want to go down to Gene Fulton or Par Racing or whoever and buy you an engine, you can do that. And in Southeast Gasser Association racing, whichever route. And you've got people being competitive. So if you're out there and you're considering drag racing, maybe look at a Southeast Gasser Association car. Yeah, you got to stick to the rules, but figure them out. Talk to Quayne, talk to some competitors. Go Sega racing. I doubt you'll regret it.
And I want to say this too. So not only is the racing great, because all 4 of those videos you show were just great. I love hearing them, shift and go through the gears and stuff like that.
They sound like old pro stockers, don't they?
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yes, just like
I'm thinking of like Daryl Alderman, Bob Glidden back in the day. Like, that's what it sounded like.
Yes.
I just want to say this though. Just shout out to the live audience here tonight. I mean, it grew so big today. I mean, even when I interviewed Gabriel Burrow back in the day, I mean, the whole Sega community comes out for these interviews. So I just want to give a shout out to the whole Sega community, because they come out to support their drivers. I think that's awesome.
They do. And also, let me say, with you mentioning that, thank you to Sega as well. They allow me to come in and film, and they have allowed me to have their drivers on and talk with them. And it's kind of become a little home for them here on Between the Slicks to chat with them, because I typically don't care to do what Joe Costella does with NHRA drivers, because he does it. I don't want to copy what Joe is doing, and Joe does a fabulous job at it. But I have a unique place in the drag racing world where I can do it with Southeast Gasser Association drivers when they win a race, and I'm there and I've got the footage, and also when they win the championship. So yes, I love having them on. Thank you to the Sega crowd for supporting me. Oftentimes they go to the races now and they're like, hey, you're the guy that does the show. Or, hey, I want to come on your show. Like, one reason why I had Tim on, his mom was like, when are you going to have him on the show? And I was like, well, he won, and I got to have him on the show now. So, because mom asked. But so I love having the Southeast Gasser Association guys on, and it fits well with what I want Between the Slicks to be, and it's a well-rounded drag racing show. Speaking of being well-rounded, and not just my figure, but the show being well-rounded, we have got a guest coming up, not next week, later on. I'm going to go ahead and announce it. We've already been talking about it. We are going to have her on. She is from across the pond, and she's in Top Fuel.
I know who you're talking about. I'm looking forward to that.
We're going to have Ida Zetterstrom on the show in the next several weeks. I'm looking forward to that.
Badass, man. Badass. That's awesome. Ida is coming up through the ranks. You know, she's making a big name for herself overseas. I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. Well, you can't get no better than an attractive Finn that can race motorcycles and is in Top Fuel. Like, I mean, that's yes.
Hey Lee, I'm taken. I can't go down that route. I can't do that.
So I'm looking forward to having her on, and I don't know as of yet who we'll have next week, but I know this much. Whoever you are watching right now, we can have you on right here once again, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Would love to have you back no matter who we've got. So, Darren, I do want to take the time before we're done. Maybe we'll go to the hour and a half mark. Some comments, some questions for me. What are some ones that stood out? Would love to take them.
Okay, before we get into that, though, you got a birthday tomorrow, man? Birthday
tomorrow? I do, yes.
Okay, I see. I think it was your mom that commented. Let me see if I can find
that. Was Mom, yes. Tomorrow's my birthday.
There we go. Terry Crabb, great show, and happy birthday, Lee, tomorrow. There we go.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep. Hey, Mom.
You got to throw your age out there, though. How old are you turning, Lee? How old are you turning?
I'll be 34.
Wow, 34 going on 24. I like it.
Yes, pretty much. Yes, pretty much. yes, pretty much. And look, by the way, everybody watching, if you are watching on Facebook, thank you. But if you can go by to the YouTube channel, just search Monday Morning Racer on YouTube, hit the subscribe button for me. I have had a goal to reach 5,000 by the end of July, and I'm actually very close. I need like 140 more subs. It's close. So for my birthday, all I'm asking, go hit the subscribe button at Monday Morning Racer on YouTube.
Everybody give Lee Crabb the HBL special. Help a brother out. Go do that. Yes. Help a brother out. HBL special. Help a brother out. Dujane Bland says, does Sega come to South Georgia Motorsports Park?
No, they do not. They do race in Georgia. Actually, they have an upcoming race. Not this next one. The next one they're in Kentucky, but I believe the one after Kentucky is at Savannah, Savannah, Georgia. I cannot remember the name of the park. They also ran earlier this year, I believe it's called Reynolds Motorsport Park, which is just up the road from South Georgia Motorsports Park.
Gotcha. There you go. So this actually happened earlier in the show. Drag Racing Century says, the point of AFIO and NHRA eyes is a junior series. This is helping them achieve that. I don't think NHRA wants a full-time AFIO racers. They just want to run this for a season, then run Nitro. What do you have to say about that?
Read that one more time for me.
Drag Racing Central says, the point of AFIO and NHRA's eyes is a junior series. This is helping them achieve that. I don't think NHRA wants a full-time AFIO racers. They just want to run this for a season and then run Nitro. So I think what he's basically saying is this. He wants this to just be kind of like a feeder system to the big show for Nitro cars.
No, they want more classes to bolster the national event program because they love car count. Even though I believe the national event program is broken. We'll definitely have to talk about it next week, I guess, at this point, of how I think the national event program is broken. So with that, with DRC commenting that, do they want a feeder system? Well, yes, they do. And that's one of the reasons for this shift. It's allowing people to more easily transition to a Nitro funny car because there's nothing out there that quite gets you ready for that, because top alcohol funny car is just a different driving technique. And I think one of the reasons for this move is just to get people used to being under a funny car body. I have not sat in a funny car yet. Actually, I got to talk to the Brutus team. They said I could warm up their car. I need to do that this very weekend. But when you're under that body, like my dad told me this one time, he was at Horton Race Cars in Belton, South Carolina, and they're like, "Hey, Melvin, jump in that car. We need to check clearance and all that." He jumps in this funny car for, some NHRA team, and they lower the body, and my dad's claustrophobic, and he freaked out. He just began freaking out. I got to get out of this thing, because you can't see. It's like the classic line from Gary Selzy. They're like, "Gary, keep it in the groove." He's like, "I would if I could see it." And I think one of the reasons they want to make this adjustment is for people going into nitro. They get comfortable with a nitro motor and that clutch and that engagement and that style of racing and levers and getting ready and staging, but also just to get used to being under a body that you can't see much of anything. I think that's one of the reasons. They also, again, going back to it, they are looking at it, this will help us increase car count. And I have to disagree with the NHRA. I don't think that's the case. I think they're actually going to hurt car count, and it will become a fuel only situation, very similar to what's happened in top alcohol dragster, because you almost could call it that. In fact, I don't know why they just don't bother and just make that shift entirely and have two different sets of funny car classes, two different sets of dragster classes, or just make it an all nitro situation. And there's no methanol being ran except in pro mods, because, well, we all know that nitro is king in the NHRA. You can't deny that. That is the truth. That's what they sell the program on, which come back next week and I'll share my thoughts alluding to that on why the national event system is broken.
And so real quick, you mentioned, your dad being claustrophobic. Well, and this more so goes towards like, the sound of the actual nitro engine and it banging and clacking and stuff like that. But you think about Ron Capps, he drove Top Fuel dragsters first. He said when he first got into a funny car, he wanted to crawl out of it because, it's so enclosed and claustrophobic. You got the motor just cackling and firing and stuff like that. Even James Day said the same thing. But I just want to go back off of what you said, having two different classes. And while I could see that happening, but don't you think, if they do that, and I just want to hear your perspective on it, you have top fuel dragsters, you have A fuel dragsters, regular top alcohol supercharged dragsters, you have nitro funny cars, A fuel funny cars, the regular alcohol funny cars. Don't you think it would be kind of oversaturating the dragsters and the funny cars? Not to mention you already got top dragster and all this stuff on top of that. So do you think kind of too many dragsters at a national event? Just want to hear your opinion.
At what is a national event right now? Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, that's all I want to ask. And just going back off of what DRC said, just basically saying as a feeder system, Dujane Bland called me out in the comments when I was trying to do devil's advocate. And that's basically just what I was saying. I agree with everything you're saying down to the T, but just playing devil's advocate, just kind of, as far as NHRA trying something different, and then, seeing if it can be a feeder system for the Big Show Nitro classes, if that's, the reason why they're doing this. That's all I was just trying to say. There you go.
I think ultimately, if we're going to have a true feeder system, they have got to work on marketing for those classes individually and the regionals, or they having standalone events. Because guess what? Many other feeder systems throughout motorsports, they can have similar events that are standalone. Example, Xfinity in the NASCAR world and the trucks in the NASCAR world. They are not always a package deal with the Cup race. They are at times, a lot of times, but they're not always packaged. And I think that gives you a lot of flexibility and opportunity in your brand, and you're able to sell more TV packages, therefore more advertisement, therefore get more money for your sport if you begin to break up and out of the national event formula. I'm already sharing a little bit too much here, Darren. We're going to talk about it next week. I've got to talk about it already.
All right, one last comment. Competition Plus TV. The Competition Plus TV. NHRA said the injector nitro cars was to create a better feeder system for the funny car drivers and crew chiefs. So coming from the man, Bobby Bennett himself. How's it going, Bobby?
That's what they said. I don't think it's going to help though.
There you go.
I think it will hurt top alcohol funny car ultimately, and they might as well just create an injected nitro funny car class. That's, I think, what it's going to wind up being anyway. But you might have a situation too where you run off all the alcohol funny car guys, and then you're in the same boat with a limited number of nitro cars.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Again, everybody, take the opportunity, go to Drag Illustrated, and the post that they use with their article and everything, DJ Cox lays it out in the comment thread. Go read it.
Gotcha. There you go.
And that's from a competitor. That's from a winner. That's from an owner. I mean, all of it right there. He laid it out. And scary enough, he said, I learned with this announcement everything I need to know.
There you go.
That's a dangerous statement.
For sure. And then, you said that, the national event system is broken. And one thing I would like to hear your perspective on next week, because I know we're running out of time, is just, and I'm not trying to compare us to NASCAR. I hate when I have to make comparisons. I hate doing that. I hate, we're not NASCAR, so I hate doing that. But just one thing I want to see is that with these new team owners, with the Ron Capps, with the Anshawn Brown, are they going to put these younger drivers in the seat once they're done? Kind of like how...
Ooh.
Like when you see a Tony Stewart when he jumps out with his own team, bring a younger driver up. Can we start to see that? Can we see Antron? And I know this costs a lot of money. I know there's a lot of logistics that goes into it. I'm just throwing stuff out there. If we could see them own their own nostalgia team, if they could see them own their own A-Fuel funny car team, if we could see them own their own top alcohol dragster team, and have these platforms to help, be a true feeder system to the nitro ranks and bring up a young kid to be in the big show. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. It's got to become, and something is. And you make a great point, and not enough people are making the point in which you just made, that you look at NASCAR, the feeder system is not so much something set up by NASCAR, but it has been set up by the teams therein.
Yes.
So the NHRA needs to foster, as you mentioned, these teams having a program in those classes that are considered or trying to be considered a feeder system. And as far as I know, the only example of that, of the teams that are in Nitro, would be, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't remember Don Schumacher racing a fuel car. I don't remember, a Coletta racing a fuel car. The only example is John Force Racing with Brittany. They don't have one right now. Maybe they should. Maybe they will in the future with Height's daughter growing up in the sport. As I mentioned in our old private chat, though, it's interesting how people get into Nitro. Not everybody goes through the feeder system or the classes. There's some people that literally the first thing they step into is a Nitro car, and they make hits in it. Like one of the examples, Dave Richards. I was shocked. I was asked, what's your path to Nitro? And I was expecting alcohol, funny car, I did this and nope. He's made a couple hits in a Super Comp car, and then he's testing out the Nitro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look, but didn't Doug Coletta just jump in to Top Fuel from midgets? Like he got acclimated to it? Didn't Austin Prock do the same thing? I know he went to Frank Hawley, and you get progression that way, but not in competition. And he jumps into the Nitro ranks. So there is an argument for the feeder system. Yet, if you don't need it to get into it, why create it? There's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just feel like, if you think about it, and there's other exceptions, you think about Justin Ashley, you think about Krista Baldwin, they've made their way up from A-Fuel. Even if you go back in the day, there's a lot of drivers who made their way up from A-Fuel into Top Fuel and funny car and stuff like that.
Blaine Johnson.
Gary Selsey. Gary Selsey, yeah. A lot of drivers. Ron Capps. Larry
Cruz
Dixon.
Tetragon.
Melanie Troxel. Jerry Darian, filled a lot of guys back in the day, guys and gals back in the day in that In-N-Out Burger top alcohol dragster. So yeah, there are a lot who've made their way from the A-Fuel ranks up into the Nitro ranks. But
I like what you said, and I like what you pointed out. I think it needs to be Antron having an A-Fuel car. And Antron is someone I need to get on the show. We need to talk about this very thing. I spoke with him at Virginia Motorsports Park testing after the national event, and I was speaking to him, and yet his car was right there. And he's not in his car. And I'm like, Antron, your car is there, and you're not in it. What's going on? Mm-hmm. Who's in your car? And it was one of his crew members, Matt Sackman, who also drives an A-Fuel. He's won an A-Fuel. And he also drives Top Dragster. Well, he is a licensed Top Fuel driver. And he wasn't licensing that day. He already had it. He was just maintaining his license in essence, from what I understand. But Antron expressed that what you're kind of talking about, they want to build those type of programs. And he even expressed a combination change to allow parts transfer from up here down through the ranks. So, yes, there are teams thinking about it, and I think it does need to happen. It needs, Tony Stewart Racing. Tony might be the one that to kind of strike out and be one of the prototype leaders of it because of what he does know from the NASCAR world. It's very possible, and from the IndyCar world, because IndyCar does it too. In the, I think it's Indy Lights.
Indy Lights.
Yes,
Indy
thank
Lights,
you.
Yeah.
So they even do that type of program. Right now it is, you can go race for Randy Meyer, but you don't necessarily have a direct move into Top Fuel through his team. And I'm sure Randy's like, nah, I don't care to put a blower on it. I've got my program figured out, and it's great and it's good, and I can train you up, but it's not a direct move. And yet the people that you can go get licensed with very easily in Top Fuel, like Dale Worsham, Terry Haddock, those individuals, they don't have an A-Fuel car for you to step into. And you could call the phone and call the Samsels and get in their A-Fuel ride, but yet they're not going to put a blower on. I mean, there is a gap. There is a barrier, and you have pointed that out, and that's a great point. And yeah, I would say the NHRA has got to sit down with teams and encourage them. How can we make it where you are in your marketing portfolio? You're not just marketing your Top Fuel car. You're marketing your Top Fuel car and your A-Fuel car. Because honestly, that's how a lot of these marketing deals work out with these other teams like NASCAR. They're big umbrella marketing pushes, and there's money divvied out to an Xfinity program that is sold in the package. Maybe that's what's got to change. Maybe that's the shift. Maybe that's how we get a true feeder system.
And a feeder system to younger marketable drivers, nice looking young marketable drivers that are going to move up to the big show and show off their faces to the world once they get up to the big show,
Right.
Like a William Byron, like a Bubba Wallace,
Again, that has something that's got to change within that is A-Fuel and Top Alcohol Funny Car getting more exposure.
Yes.
Because right now, where can you go see them? Where can you go see them?
At a national event.
At a national event? If you're not at a national event, and if you're not at a regional, how are you going to see it?
You got to make a point. Make a great point.
You got to have NHRA TV, or you're hoping it's being streamed to NHRA YouTube.
It's exactly true.
Or you can come to Nitro Chaos and be on Flow Racing.
That is exactly right. Hey, I want to pull up one quick comment real quick because I thought this was funny. We're talking about people jumping from, basically just jumping right into nitro cars. Mopar Man says, Dan Pastorini, football to Top Fuel. That is so true.
Yeah. I mean,
football to Top Fuel.
Yeah. Yeah. John Andretti.
There you go. I
mean,
anybody in the comments, if you're still watching, trivia question of the night. Where was Dan Pastoroni's one and only career national event win at? Where was it at and what year? What year did he win his national event? I know you know. I know. What year did Dan Pastorini win his one and only national event win? Pick up his one and only national event. And who did he beat in the final? There you go. Answer before we go off.
Now, who he beat in the final is tough. his car, the first one he came into with, it was an old Gene Snow car, if I remember correctly, had the strangest hat on it of any car.
Yes.
So weird. I wonder why they ran that.
So Tim knows the answer. He just put in the private chat. Tim knows what it was, and he knows what track it was at. But yeah, people, I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting. Where did Dan Passerini pick up his first ever career national event win? What year was it? What racetrack? And who did he beat in the final? Let me know.
Man, I can see that final in my mind because it was ran not on Sunday,
on Monday,
and it's not a typical final. It's a very strange final, especially for that year. That was a fascinating race overall.
It was. It was.
It also set up, and you can watch this video on Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel, the greatest pro stock comeback ever.
Yes. Yes. Okay, you guys ready for it?
I'm dropping clues, people. Put it in the comments.
So I'll say the year. It was 1986. Kenny Trent was close. He said 87, but it was 1986. It was 1986. And yeah, Lee gave you all the clues for what racetrack it was at. I know Bobby knows the answer, so I don't want Bobby to comment. He knows the answer. So
1986.
1986.
The track is now no longer on the National Event Tour.
No. Yeah, everybody stumped. I'm just go ahead and say it. Say it. All right. Atlanta, 1986. In the final round, he beat Gene Snow. Beat Gene Snow in the final.
There you go.
Snow. There you go.
Gene got beat with a car that he sold. That's got to suck.
Sir. Yep. Gene Snow.
Well, Darren, look, thank you for helping out. I appreciate the assistance as always. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who we've got next week. We'll find somebody, but be right back here on the Monday Morning Racer platform and enjoy Between the Slicks. To each and every one of you, God bless and keep the pedal to the metal.
Good night, everybody.